Hey everybody, I just wanted to come on and do this video. As you know, we're less than a week away from the 2020 presidential election, and I wanted to kind of go through here and see what might actually take place on election night next Tuesday. So what we have here is we have the electoral map from 270towin.com, and I started from scratch. So every state you see right now on the screen is brown, which they consider to be a toss-up state. But this way, both Joe Biden and Donald Trump start with 0 votes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go state by state, but I'm going to do it based on the poll closing times. Because as you know, not all the states come in at once. They kind of start from the east and work their way to the west, picking up states here and there throughout the night. So I'm going to kind of go through this. I haven't done this yet, but I'm really curious because I keep hearing there is a chance Biden could win. He could win the electoral votes, he could win the popular vote, and he could be the next president of the United States. There's also a lot of people that say that Trump's going to win in a landslide, that he'll win by even bigger margin than he beat Hillary in 2016. I'm not sure. I think, honestly, at this point, it could probably go either way. But we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to kind of go state by state based on the closing times. So right here, I have, so what you're looking at here, this is the final result of the 2016 presidential election. And I'm not going to just say, okay, state for state, it's going to be the same, and Trump will win by the same margin. I'm going to go because I'm sure some states may have changed between 2016 and 2020. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and we're going to start at 7 o'clock, and this is Eastern Standard Time. So I live in Texas. That would be 6 o'clock Central Time, but this is going to be at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. These states' polls close. And you're going to have Florida, you're going to have Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, Virginia, and Vermont. So what I'm going to do is, okay, so we start with Florida. And as everybody knows, Florida never gets decided right away. That's one of those states that, because of the way the counties kind of roll in, and there's always double and triple and quadruple checking of votes, Florida usually always comes and is decided somewhere midway through the night, more towards the later part of the night, is when they finally call Florida. So we're going to skip Florida. We're going to go to Georgia. And 2016, Trump took Georgia. Now, I know Stacey Abrams has really been making a big push for the Democrats there. She's been gaining a lot of steam. But I'm just not seeing, based on Florida having been, if you look at this, all down through here, so this whole area is red. This whole thing was Trump, and I don't see the one state in the very middle turning blue. I think if Stacey Abrams had won the race for the governor and become governor, then maybe it would have a shot to turn blue. But I'm going to go ahead and call Georgia for Trump. Now, as you just noticed, I kind of cycled through. They have some light pink, some red, light blue to dark blue. I'm just going to do red or blue just for this experiment here. So the first state right off the bat, Georgia, goes to Trump. Now, again, we're going to hold off on Florida. We're going to go to Indiana. So let's see what Indiana did. Indiana went Trump in 2016. They've got Mike Pence. So again, I think Trump is going to keep Indiana. So right off the bat, we've got 27-0, Trump to Biden. Now we're going to go on to Kentucky. There are 8 electoral votes. Let's see. They went Trump in 2016. Again, I don't see Kentucky changing. Nothing has really changed there. It's not a state that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris have really focused on. Most presidential candidates don't focus on Kentucky. It's usually a pretty tried and true Republican state. So we're going to go ahead and give Kentucky to Trump as well. Now, that moves us on to South Carolina. And South Carolina, I think, is going to kind of be up in the air. I'm going to wait a little bit on South Carolina. And the reason I want to wait on South Carolina is because I truly believe that the money that has been pumped into South Carolina to try to unseat Lindsey Graham from the Senate, I'm kind of on the fence as to whether I think that's going to work or not. If it does, I could see the state of South Carolina actually going blue. However, if Lindsey Graham is able to ward off all that money that's coming in and keep his seat, I think South Carolina could stay red. But for now, we're going to kind of skip over South Carolina. I'm on the fence. I want to take a little bit more time and think about South Carolina. Now we have Virginia, which went blue in 2016, and I don't see anything that has changed in Virginia. So we're going to go ahead and give, so scroll right past the blue. I got to figure out, there we go. So now we have Joe Biden picking up his first state in Virginia. Trump is up 35-13. So now we go to Vermont, which Vermont is definitely a hardcore Democrat. It has been for a while. I think it will continue to be. So we're going to go ahead and give Vermont to Joe Biden. So Joe Biden gets Vermont. Now Trump is up 35-16. Now we still have Florida. We still have South Carolina. So we've got 5 states so far out of the first 8. So what am I missing here? I'm missing Florida, South Carolina. We've got Indiana. We've got 5. Okay, 5 out of 7. Okay, so we're missing Florida. We're missing South Carolina. We're going to wait on those. Now that's at the 7 o'clock Eastern closing time. At 7:30 Eastern time, the polls close for North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. North Carolina, much like Florida, never gets called right away. North Carolina is one of those swing states where it always seems to take a few more hours for that to call, even long after many of the East Coast states have already been called for one candidate or the other. North Carolina, like Florida, always tends to come in a little later. We're going to wait on that. We're going to wait a little bit on Ohio. Not too long. I think actually Ohio will probably get called before North Carolina and Florida. So now we're going to move to West Virginia, where President Trump won in 2016. I don't see anything changing this year. So we're going to go ahead and give West Virginia to President Trump. Now we move on to the 8 o'clock time. We have a lot of states closing at 8 o'clock Eastern time. For me, living in Texas, that would be 7 o'clock Central time. But right off the bat, we have Alabama, which we already know is a hardcore Republican state, so we're going to give that to Trump. Connecticut, which is a Democrat state, so we're going to give that to Biden. Now we have Delaware, who is also a Democrat state. So we're going to give that to Biden. Some more polls are closing in Florida. Illinois, again, another Democrat state, highly Democrat. So we're going to give that to Joe Biden. Now you can see Biden is starting to catch up in the electoral votes. Trump, who was up by like 30 early on, his lead is now growing or closing to only 3 electoral votes right now. So at this point, I actually think, looking at some of the states that are on the list, you're going to see the tide turn to Joe Biden a little bit. So we've got Illinois, Kansas closes, and Kansas is a Republican state, so we're going to go ahead and give that one to Trump. Maine, and I know Maine splits their votes, but I think Maine is more heavy Democrat. So I'm just going to give the whole state to Biden in this case, rather than trying to divvy up. As you can see kind of over here on the side, it shows how Maine and Nebraska divvy their states up amongst their electoral votes. I'm just going to give all of those electoral votes to one candidate or the other. Maryland, which is heavy Democrat, So we're going to give Maryland to Joe Biden. Now you can see Joe Biden, who was down by 5 electoral votes, is now up by 5. So Biden actually has 60, Trump has 55. Massachusetts, again, another Democrat stronghold. I don't see anything changing up here in these kind of New England type states. So now Biden's building his lead. Massachusetts. Now we have Michigan. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, I think, are 3 very interesting states this year in the election. Last election, I believe it was Trump. Yes, Trump took Michigan. This year, from what I'm hearing, Joe Biden could flip Michigan. But I'm not sure yet, so I want to hold off on those electoral votes for right now, just because I want to think about it a little bit more. I'm not really sure where I come down on that. And, you know, I just want to say, like, for right now, to me, it doesn't matter at the end of this who ends up with the more electoral votes. Like, I've already voted. I know who I voted for. But if the other person at the end of this experiment has more electoral votes and I think they're going to win, then so be it. And I'm not holding off these big states so that at the end I can go, oh, well, the person I want to win needs more, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to them. No, I'll decide these before we get far into the West Coast, I promise. So, but I just want to think about Michigan for a minute. I'm not truly sold one way or the other. Let me think about it going forward. So the next state we have is Mississippi. Mississippi is another Republican state, so we'll give that to Trump. Trump is now down by 10. We have Missouri. I believe Missouri is pretty Republican, yes. So again, if I just go through these pretty quickly like this, like Mississippi, Alabama, Kansas, Missouri, and it doesn't seem like I'm thinking about it much, it's because these are states that Trump, I think, has a good foothold in, and I don't think anything has happened in the last 4 years for him to lose these. Much like these states over here, you know, most of these are, I'm just going to immediately click on Biden. I'm going to give those votes to Biden because Trump hasn't done anything to win those states and he's not going to. Next on the list, we have New Hampshire. Again, New Hampshire. Now, some people have talked recently that Trump might be able to flip New Hampshire. I don't think so. I don't think Trump has done enough to flip New Hampshire. Now, all of a sudden, New Hampshire is not wanting to click. So let me see. There we go. We got New Hampshire going. So now, before New Hampshire, it was tied 71-71. Now Biden has once again taken the lead. And I think it's going to be this kind of neck and neck, a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit even for most of this election. This is going to make for a very interesting and exciting night. So next on the list, we have New Jersey. New Jersey, again, Democrat. Don't even need to think about it. That's a Biden state. Now we move to North Dakota. And North Dakota is a Republican state. So that's going to go to Trump. So even with North Dakota's 3 electoral votes, you can see Biden actually has a 15 vote lead so far going into this. Now, I want to fall back to a couple here. I want to fall back to South Carolina. I've been thinking about it while I've been doing this. And again, it's kind of the same argument as Georgia, because Georgia's red, Alabama's red, Florida could be red, North Carolina could be red. I just don't think South Carolina is going to flip in this election. So we're going to give that to Trump. Ohio. Okay, I'm going to wait a little bit in Ohio. Michigan, I think Joe Biden is going to flip Michigan this year. So now you see Biden has really widened his lead here. He has a 22 electoral vote lead over President Trump. Michigan, if Biden picks up Michigan like I think he will, this is going to be a huge boost of morale for Biden, his campaign, his voters, his supporters. They are going to be over the moon. The media is going to be beside themselves at this point. CNN, MSNBC, they're all just going to be over the moon if Biden takes Michigan, like I think he will. And they're going to be basically saying it's over. Trump lost a huge state that he needed. This is a sign of things to come. So we'll see. Maybe it is. Maybe Michigan is that catalyst that puts Joe Biden over the top and gives him the presidency. So falling back to those. Now remember, we still have Florida, we still have North Carolina, and we still have Ohio. Again, states that we're going to add a few more before we come back, and then we will come back to those three. Now, we've got North Dakota, Oklahoma, a very much red state, so we're going with Trump on Oklahoma. Pennsylvania, a huge swing state that personally I think, because I believe Trump took Pennsylvania in 2016. I think Joe Biden could have won Pennsylvania. I think this was going to be a coin flip up until the last debate. Okay? When he admitted that he was going to basically kill the oil industry. And again, those are his words. I'm not making it up. I'm not saying that as, I'm throwing my support behind Trump. I think Joe Biden really hurt himself by saying that. So having said that, I think that that was the thing that keeps Pennsylvania from turning blue, and Trump takes Pennsylvania, and that puts him back in the lead in the electoral votes, 110 to 105. Now we go to Rhode Island, which is over here, and that's a Joe Biden state. Now we move to South Dakota, much like North Dakota, is going to be a red Trump state. Tennessee, and I'm pretty sure Tennessee went to Trump in 2016. It did, yep. I'm going to call Tennessee for President Trump. Texas. I want to wait on Texas. Again, I live in Texas, and I'm just not sure. Every election that goes by now seems like the state is closer and closer to turning blue. I'm not sure if this is the year that happens. I want a few minutes to think about Texas. Okay, and again, this is not for dramatic effect or I'm going to hold off and then if the person I want to win is losing, I'm going to give them. No, just give me a few minutes. I'll come back to Texas. Washington, D.C. is next on the list. And those three electoral votes are going to go to Biden. So right now you have Trump at 124, Biden at 112, and you know what? I'm actually going to say, man, I'm so torn right now. I think Florida will still be counting votes at this point. I think North Carolina will still be counting votes. Ohio will still be counting votes. I'm going to move on to the 8:30 closing time. Only one state closes at 8:30. That's the state of Arkansas. Arkansas, traditionally red. Nothing has changed there. Arkansas goes to Trump. Trump is up 130 to 112 in the electoral votes. Now, the 9 o'clock hour, 9 o'clock Eastern time, we have Arizona closes. Arizona is going to be an iffy state. So we're going to wait on Arizona. I'm not sure how I feel on Arizona. Honestly, at this point, I think I could just flip a coin, heads Trump, tails Biden, and whatever happened, happened. And I could probably, it'll probably be a 50-50 situation on Arizona this year. I'm not really sure. Colorado, I believe, was a Hillary state in 2016. It was. I don't think Trump has done anything to flip Colorado. So we're going to give that to Biden. Okay, Louisiana. All right, now we're coming back east. Louisiana is a red state. So that's going to go to Trump. New Mexico, I believe New Mexico went for Hillary. They did. Again, I don't see anything changing. So we're going to give New Mexico to Biden. New York. New York, of course, is a Democrat stronghold. So right now, that's a huge pickup for Biden. New York, if we do not know the results of Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, or Texas by the time it comes around for New York, this again, much like Michigan, is going to be a huge boost in morale for the Biden campaign. Because now that puts Biden at 155 votes. Okay, that puts him over that halfway threshold to 270. Trump at this point is barely over the 135. Biden has now just kind of really pushed past it with New York. Now, we got some more in North Dakota, but I think North Dakota is going to be called for Trump by the time the remainder of the polls close. South Dakota, same thing. Okay, now we're getting to 10 o'clock Eastern time. Now, by this point, so that would be 9 o'clock my time in Texas. That would be, 2 hours after Texas is closed. I'm not sure Texas is going to get called in 2 hours. I'm going to wait on Texas. I do, however, think that, let's see, I believe that by 10 o'clock Eastern time, that will be 2.5 hours since North Carolina and Ohio closed. I'm going to say Trump takes North Carolina first. Now that puts him and Biden almost neck and neck. Biden at 155, Trump at 153. Ohio, I think, is going to take a little bit longer. Florida is going to take a little bit longer. And we're only 2 hours removed from the polls closing here in Texas. So I don't think anything is going to be established in 2 hours here in Texas. Now that brings us, again, to the 10 o'clock Eastern hour. We have Idaho, which I believe Idaho went red. So yes, it's going to stay red for Trump. Iowa, which is going to be another kind of iffy state. I think it went to Trump. Yeah, it did in 2016. I don't think Biden and Kamala Harris have done enough to flip Iowa. So we're going to give that to Trump. Montana, of course, is a red state. That's going to go to Trump. Now, Nevada, I have heard that Trump could flip Nevada because Nevada went to Hillary in 2016, and I believe Nevada has gone blue for quite a while. I don't even know if Trump has been to Nevada throughout his campaign. Therefore, I just don't see how Nevada would flip with Trump having done next to nothing to win their vote. So I'm going to give that to Biden. So we got Nevada. Now we're on to Oregon. Oregon, despite everything that's gone on in Oregon with the protests, with the riots, with the looting, with the people being shot, I'm not sure that that's going to be enough to flip that state to Trump. I will say this. If Oregon votes for Trump, I will not be surprised. But I just don't think it's going to happen. So we're going to give Oregon to Biden. That puts Biden back in the lead. And this is what I said earlier. It's going to kind of be this heavyweight battle. You know, this 13 rounds, back and forth, up a little, down a little, back to even, up a little, down a little. It's going to be this way for quite a while. So after Oregon, now you have Utah, which I believe Utah is a red state. It is. Biden and Harris haven't done anything to win Utah. So we're going to give that to Trump. That's the 10 o'clock Eastern hour. Now we are into 11 o'clock Eastern time. And usually by this point, these East Coast states have been decided. And you know what? I feel like I've skipped some or I've missed some here. So according to my list, I am missing actually Minnesota and Wisconsin. So let's fall back real quick before we get any further, because I'm looking at my list here. I'm not seeing Minnesota. I'm not seeing Wisconsin. So I'm not sure when they close. I would guess they close around either the time Iowa closes or the time maybe Illinois and Indiana close. So let's go to those real quick. Now, Minnesota went to Hillary in 2016. Wisconsin went to Trump. Biden flipped Michigan. I think because of everything that's happened in Minnesota, man, you know what? I don't know. Part of me wants to say that I think Trump can flip Minnesota. I do think Trump's going to keep Wisconsin. So I'll say that. I don't know if the riots and everything that's happened with the George Floyd stuff and the defund the police, if that's going to get enough people to flip their vote to Trump. I'm not sure. So you know what? Since I'm really not sure and I want to call this state, I'm going to say that Biden keeps Minnesota blue. But now by this point, I'm going to say that Trump has taken Ohio. They're going to call it for Ohio. Now that puts Trump at 200 electoral votes, just 70 away. Biden still needs, 92? Trump needs 70, Biden needs 92. We've still got Florida there. I think Florida's going to hang out for just a minute. I think Florida's going to be one of the last ones. So now, falling back, we've got the 11 o'clock Eastern time, California, the rest of Idaho, but I think Idaho will have already been called by this point. The rest of Oregon, but I think Oregon will have been called by this point, and Washington. So basically at 11 p.m., California and Washington are going to, they're going to be called. California, as we know, it's going blue. Washington is going blue. So now Biden has 245 electoral votes. Now, also looking at my list, I'm not seeing Wyoming and I'm not seeing Nebraska. So I must be missing some information here. I'm not sure. Let's go back. Nebraska's a red state. So we're going to give that to Trump. Wyoming, I think, is a red state. It is. And Biden and Harris haven't done anything to change Wyoming. So right now, Biden needs 25 votes to win the presidency. If he takes Florida, it's over. If he takes Texas, it's over. The two remaining states are Alaska and Hawaii. Alaska is a red state. Hawaii is a blue state. Okay? Now, that puts Biden in the driver's seat. Now, by this point, I believe Texas is going to be called for Trump. That puts them both at 249 electoral votes. Which means whoever takes Florida will be the president of the United States. And at this point, I believe Florida will still be up for grabs. Because as you can see, as this map kind of rolls out, both Trump and Biden are going to be clinging to every single vote that is counted in the state of Florida. Folks, we could be seeing another Bush-Gore type election where things are just there. It just turns into pure chaos over the state of Florida. Now, having said that, if, say for whatever reason, if Trump can flip Minnesota, okay, Biden would need Florida and Arizona to win the presidency. Trump would just need either state. Biden would have to win both. But let's just say Biden keeps Minnesota. Okay, as you can see, folks, this is not going to be a Trump landslide. I will be the first to admit, okay, now it's time for full disclosure. Yes, I voted for Trump. I support President Trump. I honestly thought going into this that this would be a Trump landslide. I'm not going to lie. I thought Trump was going to just blow Biden completely out of the water. But now, as you can see, I just don't, it's going to be a toss-up. And I honestly think Florida will be the final state. And I think Trump takes Arizona. Folks, it's anybody's ball game. It is absolutely anybody's ball game. And as you can see, even if Trump takes Florida, he wins with 289 electoral votes. He does not even win by the same margin that he beat Hillary with. Now let's play another devil's advocate. Say Biden doesn't flip Michigan like I think he will. Trump's already won with Arizona. He doesn't need Florida. Well, I take that back. Biden could win Florida. Nope, it still wouldn't be enough. But let's just stick with my original prediction that I think Biden flips Michigan. I think in a slim margin he keeps Minnesota. Trump keeps Wisconsin. Trump takes Pennsylvania, Ohio, North Carolina, Texas. Of course, Biden gets California and New York. And it all comes down to Florida. And I think when all is said and done, and because of the way Floridians have been voting, because of Governor Ron DeSantis and his huge support, folks, I think at the very end, President Trump takes the state of Florida, and he is reelected for 4 more years as United States President. My final total, Trump wins 289 to Biden's 249. And my next prediction is that the Biden campaign and every Democrat in the United States will fight the results of this election for as long and as hard as they possibly can, because Trump did not beat Biden in a landslide. And I think Biden's going to narrowly take the popular vote in this. And because of that, this country is going to see a chaos like it has never seen before. This is how I see the night playing out. I think Trump takes the states he's supposed to take. I think he loses Michigan. If he keeps Michigan, then he wins with 1 more electoral college vote than he beat Hillary with, who he had 304 against Hillary. If he keeps Michigan, then he'll win with 305. But I'm going to stick to my original prediction. I think Biden flips Michigan. but I think Trump still wins 289 to 249. If you watch this far, first of all, I want to thank you for your time in watching this. This was kind of a fun experiment. Like I said, when my preconceived thought when I went into this was that I thought Trump was going to win in a landslide. But I had to be objective. I had to be honest about how I felt about a lot of these states. And I'd love to come in here and say, oh yeah, Trump will win Michigan, he'll flip Minnesota, he'll flip Oregon, he'll flip Nevada, and it's just going to be a landslide. And could it happen? Sure, I guess anything's possible. Could Biden take Wisconsin in this? He could. Even if he took Wisconsin, unfortunately, it wouldn't get him to 270. But he could take Wisconsin and Arizona, and that would give him 270. And that would give Trump 268. Folks, don't think for 1 second that Trump is going to win in a landslide, that Biden's going to win in a landslide. This is going to be a nail biter that I promise you will go past Election Day. There will not be a president of the United States declared on Tuesday, November 3rd. Florida is the key once again. We are going to have another year like we did 20 years ago when Bush battled Gore over Florida. But this is how I see it playing out on election night. I see some highs, some lows. In the end, I see a very upset mainstream media. They're going to be talking about voter suppression. They're going to be talking about stealing votes. They're going to be talking about Russian interference. But when all is said and done, and this may find itself all the way to the Supreme Court, Donald J. Trump will be reelected as President of the United States and serve for another 4 years. I want to thank you all for watching. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what states you think I got right, which states you think I got wrong. I don't think I'm way off on a lot of these. There may be a couple here or there that you may look at and go, oh, no way Trump loses Michigan. No way Biden keeps Minnesota. Trump's going to flip Nevada. If you think that, let me know. Let me know what you think. And maybe I'll take another look at this over the weekend and kind of see leading into the actual election day. But I'm pretty sure this is how I feel. I feel pretty good about how this map lays out. I think I'm hitting pretty accurate. Like I said, with the exception of a couple of states. But I don't think I'm wrong enough to where it's going to cause Biden to win and Trump to lose. If there are some states here that you think that Biden's going to capture that's going to give him that win, please leave a comment. Let me know. I'd be more than happy to relook at this and kind of see what other people are thinking. But this is my prediction on election night. Trump wins 289 to 249. Biden puts up a good fight, but just comes up short in the end thanks to the state of Florida. Again, as I've said, thank you so much for watching this. Good luck, everybody. Get out and vote. I don't even care who you're voting for. Get out and vote. If you support Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, God bless you. Go vote for them. Turn out. Get your friends and your family. If your friends and family all vote Biden-Harris, you all go vote Biden-Harris. If your family and friends all vote Trump, go vote for Trump. But get out to the polls, okay? I've been to the early voting polls. They're not crowded. If you wait till election day, they probably will be crowded. But if you can early vote, I beg you, get out. Take your friends, take your family, take at least 2 people with you. I did when I voted. I took 2 people with me, and it was a great experience. We were in and out in like 10 or 15 minutes. It was beautiful. Go vote. I don't care who you align with, who you support, what your political affiliation is. Okay, I've made mine known, but I don't care what yours is. Go vote. Support your candidate with everything you got, and may the best man win. Thank you so much for watching this. I wish you all a great rest of your week, and get out and vote. Tell other people to vote. If they haven't, get them out there and vote, folks. That's the only way this constitutional republic of ours is going to thrive. Get out and vote. Thank you so much. Have a great night.